welcome to Test Your Might, episode 74, the video game debate show of Shenaniman. And if you're watching us, you can see who's on. If you're not watching us and you're listening, I'm about to tell you. Let me introduce this panel, and we'll get started. First, we have the Cadaver Man himself back. How are you doing, Brian?
Good. I wish I was associated with more than corpses, but you get what you get in life. Just gotta make it work.
And then we've got the Mafia Lord himself back again, debating against Brian over here. Cicero, how are you today?
I was just, for those people that are watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe and click that notification bell. I was blinking a Morse code message to them. I was Morse coding the lyrics from Godzilla by Eminem.
Oh, I thought you were having a seizure. Now it makes sense. That's how quick it was. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah, you had to do it in real time. All right, so today we're going to be discussing the Embracers' future game plans. They have some good hope. We're going to be designing, of course, because Brian's here, the most absurd and outright unsafe sports ball controllers, and we'll be ranking our favorite Konami games of all time. So, like Cicero alluded to, if you are watching us, hit that notification bell up top, hit the subscribe, click that like, leave a comment, let us know how we're doing. If you're on that Spotify mobile app, rate us 5 stars, leave a comment, or if you're on Apple Music podcasts, go ahead and give us a rating there. So, a little bit of housekeeping today. One, our Ready Player One show was delayed, unfortunately, but we did get something else out for you guys, the Book of Boba review, and that is live currently, the whole season, coming from me, Joe, and Mike. So go ahead and check that out. That's over on our YouTube and also on all the catchers of choice. And then we're going to do our Halo check-in. The finale just hit. Some of us, it's kind of thrown us for a loop. Others like it. Cicero, you weren't on last week, so let's get your episode 8 review, which is family friendly, please. And then tell us about the finale.
Episode 8 was, it was the great tragedy, right? It was the great Shakespearean tragedy. It was Romeo and Juliet, and that's what we got, right? We got a Romeo in the form of Master Chief, and Juliet in the form of McKee. Both of their families are at war. They were distrustful of each other at first, but they were also instantly drawn to each other. They sit and spend some time with each other. They learn to trust each other. They learn to love each other, and go from hating the other person to loving and truly understanding that person through a series of unfortunate events and mistrust. That trust is broken. They are broken apart. That love is star-crossed, and then tragedy ensues for them, and that will be the tragic story. In fact, bleeding into episode 9, the finale, one dies, they both die. John is no more. So, he has been taken over by Cortana in episode 9, the finale. I enjoyed the finale. I know that you had some problems with it, Duck. Here's what I'll say. This is the analogy that I've been using for a while. The Halo series was a trip to an amusement park that you had never been to before, but you had heard tales of, and you were excited to go. And on your way there, you saw a bunch of billboards, and you had this vision of what this amusement park would be when you got there. And when you got there, maybe the roller coasters weren't as high, and the rides were not as grand. It wasn't what you envisioned it to be. But while you were at the park, you're in the park, you've already paid admission. While you're in the park, you do find a few rides that are worth riding and that are actually fun, right? And I think that you came in, you got that first episode that was fun. You got that 5th episode with the big team battle That was a lot of fun. I think that was what people were coming for. And I think in this final episode, given what the story was already at that point, you got another really fun episode that gave traditional Halo fans some stuff that they may have been looking for. And then, there was all this dramatic stuff that was also added into it. But I think that for what this series was, this finale, I went into the finale with very, very, very low expectations. And my hope was that they wouldn't dive below my expectations. And they exceeded my expectations. So I came away pleased.
All right. I hear you there. I like the similarities between Romeo and Juliet. I'm more of a West Side Story fan myself.
Yeah,
which is
story.
Similar. But I do like the roller coaster and amusement park analogy you used. Problem is, I fell asleep, maybe blacked out on one of the rides, and I woke up and Cortana's just staring at me emotionless on this other ride that I didn't know I was going to go on. Mm-hmm. And then I walked out of the park.
So I was going to say, you paid for Six Flags, but ended up at Enchanted Castle.
Yep.
Hey, yeah, mini golf. All right, yeah. Throwback. So, there we go. We've got Cicero telling us what he thought of the season finale for Halo, and we'll stick around. We'll definitely give it another shot. Like Cicero said, it was a ride we weren't expecting. It was a park we weren't expecting, but it was an okay ride nonetheless. So, let's go on to what have we been playing. Brian, you haven't been on here in a while. What have you been playing?
As always, Destiny. Just finished this last season of Destiny 2. Witch Queen was honestly like an incredibly good DLC. It was probably the best writing I've seen in Destiny 2, just bar none so far. Okay. Even if the season pass stuff was just okay. I did have that enjoyable move more towards like maybe the Guardians aren't always the good guys, with there being a whole story arc about like maybe doing some war crimes to the Hive. But so been playing that. Been playing a bit of BattleTech because that was just on sale on Steam, so I finally grabbed that to fulfill that tactics desire. And then recently also Narco, if you've heard of it, is a really good sort of like Southern Gothic visual novel sci-fi thing. If you're looking for a sci-fi story that I would argue is probably less disappointing than maybe some elements of Halo's, it's actually like some really good world building and lives up to the hype there in a way that I was honestly even a little surprised to see.
Yeah, a friend of the show, Sean Rugg, is playing that and has been talking about it as well whenever he's on. Enjoying it. A lot of reading, but it's supposedly really good.
Yeah. It is very much like if you like to read in your video game, it's a good one. If you're just going for more like action feels, it might not be a good match.
All right. Cicero, over to you. What have you been playing lately?
A lot of the same stuff that I had been playing. I know that Trek to Yomi is out, but I haven't had the time to actually play the game, so I didn't take the time to try and play the game. So, so it's been a lot of baseball, MLB The Show, via Game Pass, and some more Madden, and some more Tiny Tina's. Those are the games that I've had time for. Oh, I hit credits on UFC 4. on the PS5. That was a PlayStation Plus game from a while ago when I got my PS5. And I think it was for a PS4. But you can go through your career mode in that game and go through a career, and I did. And I reached the end of my career. I retired. For those of you that are wondering, the Hank Henderson, the Hank Hurricane Henderson, aka Triple H. His Twitter handle was 3RIPLEH because I'm good at branding. Nice. He retired 49-0 and had never seen the second round. So wow. 49 one-round victories.
Wow.
For the Hurricane. He was out here.
I'm a little curious then, honestly, because that's like a really high victory total. Like,
yeah,
on
Did
round
you
one.
find the combat very engaging with that?
Well,
Because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like if you're winning round one every time, I would get kind of bored personally.
So I never get bored winning. To be fair, and when I first played this game, the learning curve seemed really steep and very difficult, so I put it on easy. And
okay,
so
cool.
this was a career that I had gone through completely on easy.
Gotcha.
So when I first started, it was like, oh, there are so many buttons and different combinations and all this other stuff. I really sounded old. But then as I got used to the controls and kind of got gained an understanding of exactly how these controls translate to the moves that you're doing, it became super easy. And then of course my character got better, and then everything else fell into place. So I haven't gone back to attempted at higher difficulties, but there are like challenges to get the belt at different difficulty levels. So but at easy I'm the GOAT. Can't mess with me on easy.
Yeah. He's throwing shade because it's test
Yeah.
your might. He's gonna bring the heat.
Right.
For myself,
He's gonna bring it on easy.
Oh, Brian's going expert mode over there. So for myself, I did pick up a few new games. Came to Game Pass. One, NHL 2022. So I started that. Finally, I don't know why it's so delayed to come to Game Pass, but it is. The other sportsball games come right away, and then this one's just like we'll trail it behind.
Not to Game Pass. Just only MLB.
Just the EA access.
Yeah, EA access. So those games. They only come to. They make their way to Game Pass, especially the EA games, right when their respective sports hit the playoffs.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, enjoying it.
Yeah.
Also picked up Farming Simulator 2022 for my chill game. That's
Nice.
what I do. I play those simulation games, and then I booted up Game Pass on the PC, and I do have Ultimate. So I looked in there, and I saw a game that I forgot about that was announced last year during E3, and that was called Her Story, and that is PC only. And I've been playing through that religiously for the past few days and enjoying every moment. It is an FMV game, which is a full motion video experience where you're watching interview tapes of this woman tell a story about how her husband either disappeared or got murdered, and you're piecing together the puzzle of the story, seeing if she's innocent or not. And the whole thing is done through an old like Windows 95 computer-esque criminal database interview tape record thing, and you're searching by keyword to find movies and videos that relate to that with keyword. So I remember during the trailer, funny story, that they typed in the word knife and they searched it and videos popped up. So I was like, oh, I'm going to get a quick little like I'm jumping the story here. So I typed in knife and nothing came up. So they did that for the trailer and then moved it around and switched it. Very smart on their part and enjoying it. Like I said, you're piecing together the story, and then it's like it gets flipped on its head every so often, and you're just like,
Nice.
It's very good.
Yeah. Huge fan of that game. Sam Barlow kind of like brought back FMV in a really major way. He was the main dev on it. And if you like that game, they actually have a new project that's going to be released soon.
Okay.
Called Immortality, which is doing a similar thing, putting together like the cinema career of some person who was in like only 3 movies that were never released and trying to like do that kind of work.
I did see the trailer for that. That looked really awesome.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of FMV games because I grew up with Choose Your Own Ending, Goosebump books, and all those kind of. And this is a murder mystery kind of thing, so I'm even more involved. For sure.
Barlow's done some good interviews. After this call sometime, I'll shoot you some links to them because he's done like some really interesting interviews talking about the experience like working on those projects. Because he's got another one that's come out since then too, called Telling Lies.
I'll have to look it up. I've played a lot of the FMVs on the Xbox itself that released in bundles and different packs. They're always cheaper on the dollar in the wallet, and I enjoy the experience for sure. Cicero, you ever played FMVs like Any of the older
Oh
ones?
yeah, sure. You know, any old dude sat around. He's played FMVs. You played FMVs when they were new. A big one that comes to mind is Wing Commander, Commander,
Yes.
and oh man, what was it?
Are you thinking of Red Alert with the
Yes, CNC,
wonderful the
Command and
one place
Conquer, yes.
capitalism can't find me, the moon,
Yes,
which is
yes.
still a meme.
That is
Oh.
that was exactly what I was thinking of. So I believe Wing Commander had Luke or Luke Skywalker Hamill, aka the Joker, in one of their games, which was pretty cool. And all the acting was terrible, and the writing was worse, and the videos were grainy, and shout out to, what was it, Night House? What was the name of that? Was that the name of the game on Sega CD?
Night House, I think, was one.
Yeah, that was the game that like almost killed video games again.
Yeah, FMB really dropped off, and then now it's making a comeback, which is good. Just kind of relaxing and also watching and enjoying
Night Trap. Night Trap was the game that I was
Night
thinking.
Trap.
Night
Okay.
Trap, yeah.
That's Sega
Night
Saturn.
Trap was originally was on the Sega CD.
Oh, okay.
And then they made the Sega CD and the 32X and the Sega Saturn within like 3 weeks of each other.
Yeah.
So the thing with Night Trap was like it was one of the games that created the ESRB, because there was no rating for this game, but it was a MA quasi AO, like there was nudity, I think. And it was just not something that parents thought video games should be. So people that didn't play video games really had a hard time with it.
So instead of characters watching this happen, you are Cortana in this situation watching it happen.
Yes.
Okay.
Full circle.
Yeah,
Full circle.
Yep.
All right, let's get into the news. Let's jump in. We're showing too much of our age here with our Sega Saturns and our old FMV stories.
I was gonna say, I think I'm the baby in this group. So
Yeah. So, speaking of Embracer, they bought that acquisition. They got that acquisition of the Tomb Raider license and the Square Enix kind of like side projects. So we've got Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Legacy of Kain, these games, and they are going to, I believe the quote was, milk it dry, or make sure they take these properties and they're going to make things come to fruition from them. So what would you, like, between you two, just pick one of the titles that you'd like brought back, and then, just a prediction, I guess, a simple prediction for the story. Brian, go ahead. Which one would you like?
yeah, I'm conflicted. Like, old me in a lot of ways would like to see like a Legacy of Kain game, because like I love those games as a kid, and vampires are still dope. The other thing is I expect, frankly, Embracer to do a very similar thing to like THQ Nordic, where it's just going to be like a so-so for fans of the game, kind of mass rushed dev cycles kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little, it's the whole like, I don't necessarily want to see like, look what they did to my baby, to pull the Godfather line. And so like, I'm tempted to say like, because as terrible as it is, since the very last game they did in the Deus Ex series was already just kind of meh, I'm okay with another meh one of those at the end of the day. I like Cyberpunk as a genre.
Hopefully less microtransactions in the new one, though.
Yes, although I expect... it's called Embracer Group. Like, it is the most villainous sounding company, short of, like, Umbrella Corp, that I've heard in my life. Right. So...
All right. We got Deus Ex. What about you, Cicero? You got Tomb Raider, Legacy of Kain, Thief.
So, I'm going to go... I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the catalog. Crystal Dynamics came out with a game on the PS1.
Mm-hmm.
Oh crap! Now I just forgot the name of the game. But it was a space game, and it was awesome, and it got a sequel, and then it actually got two sequels. But the story was super cool. Oh crap! And I've talked about it before on Colony Wars was the name of the game.
Okay.
So I would love for them to do just a full on reboot. Like take the old story, and give me a new game. So this is an action adventure game set in space where you're flying ships, right? So you have a mission on this level, and they're branching missions that you can do based on your success in the previous mission, and that will have that'll have an effect on the narrative, on how the story progresses throughout the course of the game. And then there are different endings that you get as a result of which branching pathway you wound up taking. But those types of games don't exist anymore, right? Where it's a linear game set in space. There are space simulators, there are space, there's space kind of sandbox games, but there aren't many games where they're like trying to tell you a story, but are also set in space and are using vehicular combat. So I would love to see them bring that back.
Trying to fill that void that has been taken from you from Elite Dangerous, I see.
Correct.
Bringing back to space games.
Correct.
I'm going straight with Legacy of Kain. I don't care. I'm old, and they've said spin-offs, rehashes, sequels, everything they can do to make money and make it profitable. Legacy of Kain had a great story. I think it was ahead of its time, and the graphics couldn't hold up to it. So I feel like if they were to make something, even a reboot or a remake, and look good with the great story, I think it would sell great. And then they can continue that story, which is a very good story in the Legacy of Kain, in my opinion. So yeah, those are our predictions. If they come to fruition, they do. If not, oh well. On to the next news topic. Konami has had the best year ever, apparently. Games that we don't even know about that did that, but we all know Konami. We grew up with Konami. So let's just list a few stories or memories that we have of Konami back in the day. The good times. I'll start us off. Blades of Steel. I'm sure you guys are fans of this game. If you've played it, old school hockey. It was an arcade game. Went into the NES. Great fond memories with, shout out to Mike, stay-at-home gamer, with the 0 as an O in home. We had great memories of playing Blades of Steel and just going back and forth between that. On to Cicero, what do you got?
Sticking in the same realm, I'll go with Double Dribble.
Right.
Double Dribble, the Konami basketball game. It was the very first good basketball game for the NES, where you had a bunch of different teams, but the really cool thing was when you went to go in for a dunk, there were cutscenes it wasn't an animated cutscene, but there were a bunch of frames that they would just pop up showing you dunk, and then there was a dunk sound effect,
almost comic book style. I remember this.
Yeah, and then also when you shot a 3, it sounded like the sound effects they would use for bombs. And then if you hit the 3, it would blow up. So,
all right. Double Dribble. Yeah,
Double Dribble.
memories.
And Double Dribble talked. They talked in that game. It said, Double Dribble.
Well, mine went Blades of Steel.
There you go. That was
right.
the future, man.
Brian, what you got?
I did not bring a sports game to this. Hate to break the rule a bit here.
No, there's no rule.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a sports game. So my favorite memories are like group memories. Like, I'm bad at DDR. Like, there are people who are good at DDR. I am not that person. Justin has seen me try and do anything athletic. He can confirm DDR not going to be my bag. But like, I have really good memories. of like a bunch of people all being bad at it together, and like the fun times of like in high school, just like it's 2 a.m, we're in someone's basement, like mediocrely playing DDR after having had way too much soda and way too much junk food. And so, like, for me, it's all those, like, group memories where Konami just happened to be, like, the thing that was in the room via DDR.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a good memory. Cicero and I also agree with couch potato back in the day, sitting with your friends. Those are the memories you really remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. On to the namesake of our show. Are you guys ready?
Oh,
I
spaghetti.
Oh, Cicero's getting in the hood. All right. So this is going to be a little different than usual. This is Test Your Might Remix.
Oh.
So neither of you guys know what that means.
Nope.
But you do have access to the outline, the two contestants here. And since Brian is the guest, he is allowed to choose one to start off with out of the 4 arguments. He could start off with the blind fight if he wants. He could start off with the second, third, or the first argument. And he also gets to choose to go first or not.
Whoa.
Because he is the guest.
Okay.
What power?
I'm going to start out with the boring one. That way we can build to the more interesting questions.
Okay.
And so I feel like the most boring is the Bethesda one.
Okay.
I feel like that one is going to be less out there than some of those others.
Okay. All right. So the first question has been selected, and I will read it for everyone listening or watching. With Bethesda pushing the major releases to 2023, wow, it's prediction time. What one game or announcement would wow fans this June during the showcase that would make up for this delay? And Brian, it's your choice, first or second.
Nope, I'll start out. Big Bethesda fan. I feel like the easy and boring answer to this would be like, oh, the delay is not actually a delay, but that's just not actually a real answer, right? Because like, it's Bethesda. If they're going to delay, they're going to delay. That's who they are as a studio. And so what I think would actually be a really interesting option would be to announce that the new Fallout 6, essentially, or whatever it's going to be, or 5 rather, is going to be a cross project between Bethesda and Obsidian. Obsidian being the studio that did the original Fallouts and Fallout New Vegas, which were not the most popular in the form of New Vegas, but became a critical darling and a cult classic and has like one of the most rabid fan bases, myself as part of it, that you're going to find for like that kind of like more cult classic in that genre. And so having Bethesda's like better QA work, as much as it's weird to say that because Bethesda QA is also it is better than Obsidian's with some of that stuff. Obsidian's writing as a whole has just always been a lot sharper, with more of the dark 90s satire that's kind of always been built into their games. And so having like that bigger dev team to expand the scope, but then still having more of Obsidian's kind of weird wonky vision, I think could make a really interesting game that also would get a lot of the fan base finally excited again after the Fallout Online being a flop, to be generous.
All right.
I see what you did there. Fallout.
Go ahead, Cicero. What do you got? What's going to beat the Fallout?
That wasn't on purpose. I just wanted to let you know that was 100% accidental.
What they're going to wind up doing, Bethesda, is we're going to get a June surprise. June surprise! And that June surprise is going to be
Dragon Scale. Scalebound.
That you have been found wanting. You have been left without honor. So we are bringing back the Dishonored series with a Dishonored remaster, a Dishonored collector's edition. That will be one package on Game Pass, available to you in that Starfield time slot. Up-res, 4K, all that jazz.
All right. Brian, why is Fallout 5 a bigger and more well-rounded announcement for the fans to fix what happened?
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. One, I think it's optimistic to say that Arcane, right after Deathloop, is going to be going into doing rebuild work that quickly and turnarounding that quickly for a new Dishonored, so they would have to use another studio, and the vast majority of the Dishonored fan base wants Arcane to be the studio doing it. When it comes to immersive sims, Arcane are the monarchs of that field, and so handing it off to someone second rate, at that rate, it feels like they might as well just do Skyrim that runs on your space heater, which is their usual like go-to thing they're releasing every year. Um, and frankly, like Fallout has a bigger fan base. Even when Fallout 4 had like a fake announcement that was like a fan just making stuff up, the fan base went crazy for it. And often the most effective smokescreen for a delay is something new and interesting, not something old that's already been played.
Ooh, some major strikes over there, Cicero. What do you got?
Yeah, well, I mean, so the thing is, what's realistic, right? And what is tangible. So, what's realistic is not another Fallout game, right? Like, maybe an announcement, sure, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh yeah, that's these groups of people. Hey guys, I know you're upset that the game that we swore was coming out in November isn't coming out in November, but let me tell you, here's another game that we've got coming out, but it's going to be made by all of the people that you want to make it. It's also not coming out in November, though. Aren't you excited? Aren't you happy that I've told you about another game that you won't be able to play? Yeah. How about you get a chance to actually play a game and it looks better now, right? Like, sure, you could have played Dishonored, but you maybe you missed it, right? And you're like, I don't know if I can go back to it. Well, we've seen already with the Mass Effect trilogy remaster that is something that we can definitely have. And no, Arcane probably isn't working on it, but most of the remasters aren't worked on by the studio that actually did them. They ship all that stuff out to a finishing house, and that finishing house takes care of all of the work. And that's how you're able to get these games, a game like Dishonored, and have that series ready for people to play in November.
Brian, one last swing back.
Yeah, I mean, they can already play it on Game Pass, right? So it's you're not really giving them anything new in the same way that the 800 different Skyrim remasters aren't giving anyone anything new.
Oh, so you're saying...
And also, just to clarify, from a previous thing, I was saying the announcement would be made, not that they would say the game would come out in November. Just
sure. No, right. No. I think we're on the same page there. That, let's get excited for an announcement. We're disappointed that we won't be able to play a game in November, but let's get excited for an announcement for a game that we won't be able to play in November. But I will say that the original Halo games are available on Game Pass as well, but so is the Master Chief Collection. And people play the Master Chief Collection because you can swap between the two, and while you're swapping between the two, you get to appreciate, right? Like, as you're playing it with the new graphics, you're like, oh man, this looks the same. It's like, I remember this game looking good and it looks good now. And then you push the button and you see what it used to look like, what you used to think looked good. And then you're like, oh, yeah, we've come a long way. And we've come a long way even since the Dishonored games were released. So being able to up-res those, being able to put them in 4K, giving them all of the new current gen bells and whistles are things that gamers have the chance to appreciate, and also get to discover a new game that doesn't attack their graphic sensibilities.
All right.
In November.
Okay. I think I'm gonna call it. I think that I know because I'm the judge, that Cicero did have great points, but I feel like that announcement wouldn't hold the same weight. As much as he says fans would be excited about getting a game right this year at the same date, it wouldn't hold as much weight for the fans, which is a big point Brian made. The fan base for Fallout would be in an uproar if they heard, hey, this is coming soon, even if it's just a trailer, to know they're working on it. The only other thing that could have beat that was Elder Scrolls in that same sense. And I feel like Fallout wins this argument. Brian, that's a win for you, just for the fan base sake.
Fans don't know nothing.
Hey,
that is true, but they are very loud on YouTube.
that's true. And if you disagree with Cicero Holmes, Stubby Stan, Twitter handle
That's
on
Stubby
the screen.
Stan. There you go.
All right, so
there.
we're going to play Losers Out. And like I said, this is Remix. Cicero, pick the next argument.
Ooh. I'm going to pick the next argument as the blind fight.
The blind fight.
Bam.
Wow, the first time in history the
Throwing
blind
sand
fight.
in my eyes already. Okay,
Right.
let's do it.
And Cicero gets to choose if he wants to go first or second. This is going to be a blind fight given to me by none other than a Mike, but not our Mike. One of our fans here in Woodstock, Illinois, has given me a blind fight, and this is it.
All right, Mike. So, wait a minute. Do I get to hear it first before I choose?
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
All right, Mike.
Can we please at some point have a blind fight where we have to make arguments not knowing the question?
There you go. Oh, man. That's like the blind Jeopardy fight.
All right, so this is going to be a celebrity death match. No strings attached. Complete nonsense, and whatever you want to bring into it, you can. A versus celebrity death match, choosing between Mrs. Frizzle from the Magic School Bus and Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory. Cicero, who do you choose?
Who do I choose?
Now, if you didn't know,
I'm gonna choose Dexter.
all right, Cicero has chosen
And
Dexter
go-
from Dexter's
right.
Laboratory. If you didn't know, both of these are from video games. Dexter has about 3 or 4 video games and a bunch of appearances. And surprisingly, I learned this today, Magic School Bus has about 14 games. So that means, Brian, you have the Magic School Bus. Mrs.
That's what I
Frizzle.
hoped I would get, so...
All right, Cicero, take your swings. Go ahead.
So the Magic School Bus is awesome, right? It's a school bus. It's magic. It can travel anywhere in your intestines, in outer space, through the mycelial network. It can go anywhere. Where it can't go is into the laboratory in Dexter's lab, where Dexter can make anything. So Mrs. Frizzle, she is dope, right? She's unflappable. But she's at the mercy of the school bus and the little lizard guy. Where Dexter, he makes the rules. He makes the rules. He sets the rules. Everybody plays by his rules. Even his sister. So he is Dexter, and he's that dude. Miss Frizzle ain't got nothing for Dex. Sorry.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead with
Right,
Mrs.
so,
Frizzle.
I will say a couple quick notes. They both do have exactly 4 seasons. So good matchup on that front. And so this is Celebrity Deathmatch, right?
This is.
And a key thing of not just Celebrity Deathmatch with WWE, Japanese professional wrestling, any wrestling, right? Is, it's a clean fight in theory, right? It's one-on-one, and then the other antagonist shows up in the ring.
Right.
And the reality is Dexter's got antagonists. You can bring Mandark in here. You can bring his sister in here. Everyone loves Frizzle. There's no one that's going to turn on Frizzle. She doesn't have enemies. There's no antagonists for her in her show. Just come and grab her from behind so that Dexter can get into those free punches. Meanwhile, Mandark going to grab Dexter from behind and just going to get run over by a school bus. Like, that is how it has to work, because that is how wrestling works.
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? We know that that's how it works. Dexter knows that that's how it's worked. He's seen a celebrity death match or 17, right? So they grab him. They go to run him over. with that bus. And as they run him over, it's not guts that come out, but bolts. It was an android all along, and here comes Dexter out of nowhere, and he just mows everybody down. Well, you don't think that Miss Frizzle has enemies, but you show me a person with no enemies, I'll show you a person with the worst enemies. Their enemies are themselves, and these are demons that they're always trying to run from, and that's who Dexter brings with him into the ring, is Mrs. Frizzle's demons from her closet, and they destroy Mrs. Frizzle. They talk about her hair. They talk about how much she's a disappointment to her mother. They talk about how her dad doesn't love her enough, and what we'll be left with is a distraught, disheveled, just crestfallen Mrs. Frizzle crying in the corner. Dexter wins.
Brian, go ahead.
So, I gotta ask Cicero, you ever met a teacher? Because, yeah, they got demons. They're in the classroom. Everything you just said there, she's had one of those kids say that to her at some point. I can promise that to you. There is a reason that the only people that can drink me under the table are teachers. They are used to that. That is nothing. And you know what? You start bringing her demons in, she's probably got a real good union that's going to show up with her with a whole picket line as well. Like, you're Chicagoan, you know CPS.
Yeah. Yeah.
You think that gonna be enough to stop a teacher? Nah. Inner demons are nothing. They eat those for breakfast. They got demons in the classroom too, and they eat those too.
Well,
and you know what? And you know what Dexter is? A child.
Yeah.
You know what she deals with all day? Children.
Yeah, so she can deal with the children as demons, but not the demons. That's why she's in the school every day. That's why she's taking these excursions, right? She's not taking these kids on the field trips because she just loves driving through blood vessels, right? She's taking these trips on the excursions so she doesn't have to go home and look at her cats and her golden girls throw pillows. Right? Like, she is running from something, constantly running from something, and Dexter found it and he brought it with him. That is a woman with problems.
All right, Brian, one last swing, and then I'll call it.
If she hasn't promised the $80K in student loan debt that she's still paying off, which is why she's still in that classroom. Let's be honest here, fam.
Regretting her choices.
Yeah,
and
I will say, Dexter,
smiling through the pain.
Dexter only has science. The Magic School Bus has science, magic, and history. Just got more disciplines. Dexter doesn't know what to do with history.
He makes his own. He's a scientist.
That ain't how history works.
You can make history. With his inventions.
All right. I apologize, Cicero. I think you chose the wrong answer at the beginning of this one. I think the Magic School Bus just turned the bolts into a dead Dexter. The magic is big too. You know, he's got science, but we got magic, and all the other things that you already have. Yeah. Cicero, sorry about that one. I think you lost that one too.
Oh, all right. Well, here we go. It's time for the big comeback.
All right.
Losers,
Brian.
outs. Oh, okay.
You have two to choose from. But
Does Cicero not get another chance?
But
or
Cicero
are we not doing losers out anymore?
But Cicero is going to get to go first.
All
Okay,
right.
good.
Oh, okay. So you get to choose, but I go first.
You know what? You were talking about sports games earlier.
Right.
Let's talk sports.
All right.
All right.
Let's
Going
talk.
into the sports ball. Here we go. Xbox Canada, if you didn't know, made a custom NHL 22 controller, full-size hockey stick with buttons. So, obviously, we have the Cadaver Man here, the designer of the Surgeon Simulator Cadaver controller. And we have Cicero Holmes over here. Let's see who can design the best sports ball controller. But we're not judging on the best, are we now? We're going to judge which one is the most unsafe and outlandish controller that you can make. It has to be tied to a game, and the controller layout has to be listed. So the most insane idea wins for this sports ball controller. Cicero, you have the choice. Do you want to go first?
No, I went first last time. Didn't work. Brian?
All right.
The torch has been handed to Brian.
Sounds good. There are a couple ones I thought about. I thought real hard about this for a whole 5 seconds. I was trying to think of what is a sport that is fundamentally dangerous first. And then I realized, no, it's not a sport that's dangerous in and of itself. It's a sport that's dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. And so what made sense to me was jousting. Clearly, what gamers think they need but really should never have is a jousting rig. And you've seen car racing rigs, and you've seen mechanical bulls. So you more or less combine that. You create a mechanical horse, kind of like you would see at, a merry-go-round or in front of your local Jewel Osco. You soup one of those up. The controller itself is kind of like a Switch controller situation, where half the buttons are going to be on the horse, and half the buttons are going to be on the little jousty spear that I'm blanking on the name of, the polearm. And it's going to have motion controls, obviously, kind of like a Wiimote.
That is called
for the
lance.
Jousting part. And lance is another word, yeah. There's a lot. Thank you for that, Cicero.
No problem.
And clearly the games you would use this for are myriad. There's a lot of games with horse combat.
Oh, okay.
Right? There's already a VR Skyrim, so you could real easily just toss that in there. Maybe Elden Ring, too easy. You need that combat to be hard. And so there will be a mod, I am sure, somewhere on the internet that'll come out. They'll let you then mod that into Elden Ring. Because let's be honest, FromSoft isn't doing it.
All right.
The obvious thing is you're going to have the very start buttons will be on the harness of the horse. So you have to kind of pet it to get to pause. Any sort of A button will be on the actual jousting thing, right? So you can use that to get perfect timing type stuff with when you're jousting and stabbing with the lance. It is also, because it's a mechanical bull, going to have haptic feedback in the fact of when you get hit, it'll just fling you right off the horse. Which is going to destroy your living room, but also think of all the great TikTok videos that'll emerge of people just getting wrecked trying to use this peripheral. And that's where the real side market develops, and where it gets revealed years later that the TikTok company is the one that actually helps fund it. Just trying to keep up their videos.
Wow.
Okay. Full-size lens or half-size or...
Oh, why would you ever use half-size? No, this is dangerous. This is full-sized, and the end is still sharp.
And it throws you off while holding the lens.
Exactly. But it comes with a set of armor that you can wear, so you don't get too damaged.
Okay. All right, Cicero.
All right. Well,
go ahead.
That is pretty outlandish, and includes a conspiracy from Big TikTok. So, kudos to you for that. Definitely. I guess I might lose this because mine is not as outlandish as that. It seems practical by those standards, but it's still a thing. And look, everyone, this game series spawned a bunch of people who thought they could do the thing. So we're going to use the thing to see if people can play the game. And that is a skateboard peripheral that actually has wheels on it. So you're going to be playing your skateboard games. You're playing your Tony Hawk games with as you stand on a skateboard where the analog sticks are right where your feet would be, and you would move your feet for the analog sticks. But the triggers are like if you fold back, as you're like, like if you were like trying to move left or something like that, you fold back, that's the left trigger. You push forward, that's the right trigger. And then the buttons would be as you move backwards and forwards. So like in order to do a trick in the game, you'd also have to like almost do a trick in your house. So move your furniture. But if you grind on like your couch or something like that, the grind button will actually work. You can also use this game for snowboarding, but be careful, you probably will move. Like the controls are going to be the same. So you'll be able to play games like SSX, any of those old games, or the Ubisoft game Ride, where you're doing all of the different things. You can even try and use it for the BMX games. You can like do different like BMX style moves while you're still on the skateboard. But it takes a little bit of working to make that work. I do know that they are going to try and make this peripheral also work with the Ubisoft game Trials. So you'll be trying to do some stunts while you're also on this board. But again, there are wheels on it, so you'll be moving as you're controlling your character. That might get difficult, like trying to keep focus on the screen as you're moving away from it. May get difficult, but you can just turn yourself back around. But you'll turn around in the game as well.
All right, I'm going to give you guys a back and forth one more time. Why is yours better, and what is the flaws of the other person's? Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the biggest flaw with the skateboard peripheral is I know people that know how to skateboard. I know literally one person that knows how to joust, and I'm extremely a nerd who goes to Ren fairs, and I know one person under that qualification. As someone who goes to punk shows, I know a ton of people that could probably pull off that skateboarding peripheral. Just the potential damage isn't there as much. Just too many people had a scene phase. Not that many people had a jousting phase because horses are really expensive. You can't just buy a horse at Target. You can buy a skateboard at Target. And so, like, just the skill ceiling is just so much higher for jousting. Also, it's sharp and pointy, and that tends to cause more internal bleeding when it goes poorly. For the cat in the house, the dog in the house, the mom trying to give you your Hot Pockets. There's just so many more ways it goes poorly for jousting as a peripheral.
Oh, family-friendly shish kebabs. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Cicero.
Well. Thank you very much, Brian, for making my point for me. As you said, you know a lot of people that can skateboard. You know very few people that can joust. So why would they want to buy a jousting peripheral? Right? They're not going to be there to do that. But while you do know a lot of people that can skateboard, you know a lot more people that think they can skateboard but can't. Or, in fact, you know triple the amount of people that you know that can actually skateboard at the punk rock things that have played 10 hours of Tony Hawk and go to Target and buy the skateboard and believe that they can skateboard because they played 10 hours of Tony Hawk. And now they're out there, L1, square, right trigger, and trying to do an ollie, and they're surprised when they wind up on the ground. That is who's going to wind up buying. So you're going to get, right? In fact, I think these people will help. You're going to get people that actually know how to skateboard that buy the skateboarding peripheral, and they're going to be amazing playing with that peripheral. and you're going to want to buy it because you see them doing it and you remember playing Tony Hawk and it was awesome, and you're going to get it. And you did that kickflip that one time 4 years ago. But now, now you're going to go out there and you're going to try and do it. I'm going to goofy foot it, and you're going to be goofy. But you probably won't be on your feet. You'll probably be through the lamp. That is a thing that's going to happen. And while I do appreciate the fact that you're really trying to puncture things and impale things, that's cool and all, right? But like, what's the line between hilarity and tragedy is a fine one. And impalement generally falls on the tragedy side, whereas, oops, I crashed into the TV again because I'm on my skateboard peripheral yet again and I don't know how to skateboard, falls on the hilarity side. So while TikTok may have thought about sponsoring the impalement and the impalement peripheral, they may jump ship and come over to us because this is where the memes are, right? The hilarious memes. They won't get sued for, reckless endangerment or accidental death with the skateboard peripheral.
All right. I'm going to call it. I might have died, but I do agree that Brian's is very insane. It is insane, but the problem is when it comes to gameplay, you were talking about modding it in and making it something that the community would make work into the game. On the other side, Cicero listed a few games that it would start working in immediately and be in from the start. Yeah, it's still insane and you're going to break stuff or hurt yourself. I think Cicero wins this solely because he did mention grinding the couch. And in a room with carpet, skateboarding is going to be something to see, definitely on TikTok and the memes, which he also listed. So I think Cicero won this, unfortunately, just by a hair. I almost died because of the outlandish sense and the insane idea that Brian put, especially when it came to the tragedy line that Cicero mentioned. All right.
I think we can both agree neither of these things should ever be built.
Well, in all seriousness, when it comes to modding controllers in, people have been beating other games with Guitar Hero controllers for years.
Yeah.
And people would mod the skateboard into Elden Ring and do the same thing that your jousting would. So it's a fair. Yeah, neither of them should be made. No. We only have one item on the docket left. Losers in, so that means, Brian, you're going to get first go at this one. So this is all about achievements. Achievements and trophies have been in games for a long time. So I ask you, what is the funniest or the most hysterical achievement ever created? And why is it funnier than your opponent's?
All right. I think I had to think, long and hard about this, by which I meant about 2 seconds, because there was one achievement that will always stick in my memory here, which is there is a PC game called Stanley's Parable. Stanley's Parable is a ridiculous, extremely 2000s video game about the concept of video games, essentially. It's very meta, right? And there's an achievement in that game that, were it made today, I'm convinced would have a different name. If it were made today, the name of this achievement would be Touch Grass. But the actual name of the achievement is Go Outside. And you only get this achievement by not playing the game for 5 years. You have to not open this game or EXE for 5 years, and then remember 5 years later to go back in and open it and play it to get the achievement.
Mm-hmm.
It is the ultimate achievement of doing nothing and having a life outside of video games, which for gamers is the hardest achievement.
In the new Ultra Deluxe edition, there is a new achievement for 10 years. Cicero, go ahead.
So there is Let's see. The one that I think is the funniest and most attainable is, oh man, yeah, isn't there is, oh man, I'm gonna lose this one. All right, my achievement is the life after death achievement when you kill somebody with a grenade in Call of Duty. The very first time that happened.
Okay. That's like when you drop a grenade after you die?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, why is the Stanley touching grass achievement better than the dropping a grenade after death achievement?
Yeah. I think a big thing for me is I think the only achievement I've ever seen and actually physically laughed out loud, which I don't think I've ever done for an achievement before. The very concept of it is so absurd. While it's life after death, like there's a variation of that achievement in like every shooter. Like it's a super common, easy one to get. Like it's a fun moment. Like I play Destiny. It's a great moment in PvP when like I get wrecked, but my grenade kills the person right afterwards. But it isn't like hysterical. That's more of like a yes, got you, like, or ha, deal with that. It's not like that ain't never having me put down the controller to like chuckle for a few seconds. The fact that a game is so just messing with me, which again, the Stanley Parable is just messing with you. The entire game is playing with the habits of gamers and like making fun of them and like pushing back on some of them as well. And so like a game that is very achievements, because again, this game also has achievements like play the game for the entire length of a Tuesday, or an achievement that is just you can't get this achievement. And so I think a game that's kind of playing with that and just is a comedy game to begin with is able to kind of hit that higher level of laughter, at least for me. And I think for a lot of people too.
Also to say, there is an achievement in World at War, which is to get to the highest level. I believe it's unranked, and it's 0 gamer score. And then the achievement says, "Time to go get some sun," because it would probably take the same amount of time that the Stanley Parable waiting game would. Cicero, go ahead. Why is your grenades? So these achievements are kind of branched throughout each of the titles that were listed. Right. Honestly, go ahead.
Well, it's because like it's a thing that you know, like, oh man, you just died, and so you just failed, and despite failing, you just received an achievement, which means you succeeded. So the only way to get that achievement is by failing and succeeding at the same time. There you go. And the great thing about that is not the rarity of it all. It's the fact that we all can have that sense of accomplishment even right after having that feeling of failure. So that is the thing, is it's the fact that we all can feel that pain and joy at the same time, and collectively as a community, we all know what that feels like. Excuse me. I just said a lot right there.
Brian, go
ahead. All good. I think that makes it the most achievable and maybe like comforting achievement. And I think if we were going for like achievement that makes you just feel comforted, like that would honestly be in probably like my top few, right? Because like that moment is a very comforting moment of like, hey, I screwed up, like my KDR is a net 0. And like when you're doing PvP, that's a big deal. but that isn't the same thing as hysterical for me. That isn't the same thing as laughter. And so, like, under a different category, I think that achievement is incredible. I just don't think this is the category for it.
Well, I think it's hysterical that I lost, but then I won. And the only way I could win is by losing. Ha 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 ha!
Was this like a ploy all along to win the argument?
Right, exactly.
So I think what it comes down to is accessibility, really. You know, Stanley, it's a great game. Great achievements, great. That's the comical style of that game in particular. It's a smaller title, but spoke to millions. And Call of Duty, on the other hand, is a game that's been around for a long time and also continues to speak to millions. And this achievement that Cicero listed is something that everyone saw that played Call of Duty. In your time of playing Call of Duty, you got this achievement, most likely. Because everybody dies and everybody kills someone else after death. And I think Cicero got this by accessibility. I think that the vein of humor that it sets is a mild one, for sure, but it was heard by many. And I think that the average Call of Duty player will be like, I lost, but then you hear a tink and an achievement pops for dying and also killing someone else after death. I think the vein of humor sets it right. So I think that Cicero won this one by losing, I guess.
There you go. All right.
So that leads us...
I lost, but I won, but I tied.
Yes, you tied,
Yeah.
technically.
That makes it the net zero, right?
There you go. Exactly.
Chris with the achievement. Bravo. That was your plan all along, Cicero, right?
Yes,
This was
that's
just
right.
like you being Gendo Akari, just like steepled fingers, planning this from the beginning.
Yes.
That's what Dexter does. That's what Dexter does.
Right.
So
Both Dexter, right?
yeah. Well, technically, yeah. Not that one. That's family friendly. Showtime is where Dexter is. No. Showtime for this Metacritic score game that we play. We've got a game made by Konami here today, because we've been speaking on it here and there throughout this show. Brian, do you know the rules of the Price is Right Metacritic score game?
No, I don't think I do. This might have come up after the point where I was working 80 hours and no longer had life. So,
Each of I will tell you the game title, and you will choose a number 1 through 100, and closest to it wins without going over. If you go over, closest to it wins. All right. The game I chose is one that I played a while back.
Okay.
And it's an older title. It is called Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories on the original
Memories.
PlayStation.
This title came out in what year?
2002.
And it is, do you know which number in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Video game franchise this sequel happens to be?
are we allowed to ask all these leading questions?
Yeah, we can't
This seems like...
Do not be over there like an evil genius. Like, oh, I'm
we're just asking questions. What
Right,
was
well,
the
this
score?
is, I'm plugging it into my my database.
Oh, your secret
algorithm.
Oh, you have a database? That sounds like cheating.
I've
to
got a
me.
mental
That
database.
sounds like cheating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Objection hearsay.
You know.
My
All right.
database of Google. Like,
Cicero, what is your number?
My number. What's the name of the game again?
I forgot that
Yu-Gi-Oh!
search term. Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
Forbidden
Right.
Memories.
Forbidden Memory. Here, my hands are in the air. Right. Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memory. I am going to say that the Metacritic score for this game is 74.
And Brian.
just to confirm, we mean the Metacritic critic score, not the Metacritic like review or user score, right?
This is the
that
out
does
of
exist
100,
too.
not the out
Yeah.
of 10. Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna guess I feel like a 78.
A 78. Cicero, yours was a 74?
Correct.
The correct answer for this question is 57,
Woo!
which puts Cicero in the lead by losing by tying. Cicero, anything to say to your fans?
Yes. Oh man, listen. Never be afraid to lose, because sometimes when you lose, you win.
Words of wisdom.
Right.
Okay. On to our leaderboard of the night. Our favorite Konami games of all time. Cicero, I will go ahead and give you the start on this.
All right. I'm gonna go double dribble. I'm gonna go Metal Gear. I'm gonna go Metal Gear Solid.
The original.
Nice.
The
Not the original.
Right.
Metal Gear, Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear
NES
Solid.
title.
Metal Gear is the original. Metal Gear Solid is the third game in the Metal Gear franchise, maybe even the fourth game in the Metal Gear franchise.
I think it's the third full title.
Right.
Because there was like a remastered one that came out of 2, I think, before Solid came out.
Yeah, I feel asleep. And then, my third game is Castlevania.
All right.
Which one? Because there's a. Do you mean like the original Castlevania?
The one that started it all, man.
Gotcha.
All right.
So Metroid? No, just kidding. All right. I think my 3 are going to be number 1, Silent Hill 2. I will come knives out for that one. Just being real frank here. Second one is Zone of the Enders, which was pretty good mech game, which there's a bit of a dearth of those for like dogfighting. And then to be smart here, and since you already put MGS on, I'm gonna go with the really obscure Vandal Hearts 2, which was a tactics game.
Hearts.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay. My titles are going to be Blades of Steel.
There you go.
Then I've got a few that I have to cross off, thanks to you guys.
I was gonna say I know I gave one of yours already, so.
Yeah, it's my favorite game of all time. So, I'm gonna go with one that is a little bit smaller title. It was known as Salamander, but I knew it as Life Force, and it was a ship shooter game on the NES. Phenomenal game.
Yeah.
And
they made great shooters back in the day.
Oh yeah. Castlevania is it's a good choice for just the list of great Konami games ever created.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to. Can I just put Silent Hill 2? And then we fight over who gets to choose.
Listen, if you want, you could pick a different Silent Hill. You could have the hard job of arguing for Silent Hill: The Room.
I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that because my favorite is the second one. So,
listen, if you want to put the second one there, I will switch mine to The Room just to bring up the extremely weird game that is Silent Hill: The Room.
You know what? I'm going to go OG here. They created Frogger. And Frogger was of its time for sure, but it set a nice land foundation for the rest of what they created. So I'm going to put the original Frogger on here. I remember playing it for sure. I'm sure you guys do too.
Mm-hmm.
Not the remake.
I will say I'm surprised that DDR did not make it on here, and I'm surprised that Gex did not make it on here.
Or Cobra or Contra. Isn't Contra as well?
Contra's them too, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
The original Dark Souls.
Cicero, your must-have game.
Oh man. Geez, all of those are must-haves for me. Double dribble, because I think we'll find takers for everybody else, for the others.
Okay. My must-have is going to be Silent Hill. I can't choose from other people's list. I'm going to go with Blades of Steel for mine. And then I guess Brian is going to...
It's Silent Hill 2. It's not a question. It's Silent Hill 2 for me. Like, I'm tempted to say not that just because I want to talk about Silent Hill 2, but it's Silent Hill 2.
I'm okay with that choice. All right, we've got 2 more spots. What are we going to decide? Jeez. You guys remember Life Force?
Yes, very much.
Not
so.
like it didn't stick with me in the way it did for you, but yeah, I remember it.
Okay.
Yeah,
what about Frogger?
I very much remember both of those games.
Mm-hmm.
But man, so
What about Castlevania? Come on.
so to me, I've got to make like rarely am I this selfish, but I've got to make an argument for the 2 games that I've got on my list. MGS was one of those games that changed how I thought about games. At the time, like I constantly reference that game and GTA 3 as games that I'd never, like, I didn't even imagine video games could be like this when they released. And so that's like, so those 2 games, or MGS is a game that I would argue about. Castlevania is a seminal title, right? Like it is.
But Frogger.
Yes, Frogger is an OG title.
That's the oldest title on this list, honestly.
And very important. But what I would say is, you're popping when they make a genre of video games based on your game.
You're talking about
50%.
Yes, sure. Right. Yeah, so they got the Vania part of the castle.
Yeah.
Well, Froggers took over the mobile market with jumping across things for sure.
But like Frogger didn't invent the platformer. See, that's like if we're gonna pull that, like that honestly goes way more, because the jumping, like materially, like in the actual game, how it functions doesn't do much. Like it's more of just a vertical dash. If you want to talk like mechanically, so if we're talking like the origin of all those, it's actually probably like Mario or Jumpman. If you want to go real far back, like obscure games.
Yeah, with the platformer, it was Pitfall.
Yeah,
it was really
Pitfall. Yes, that's another one you can bring up instead. Yeah.
But I mean, Frogger's an important title, is an OG title, definitely. But I would say in terms of importance to the landscape of video games today, or in general, that I would say that Castlevania. I would make an argument for Castlevania, and again, I'll make that argument for MGS. Is just a quantum shift in the way people thought about video games.
Yeah, I want to say join you on Castlevania. I will join you in arguing for Metal Gear Solid.
Okay.
For a couple reasons.
I'm okay with Castlevania for sure.
Yeah. More of a like, I have nothing new to say there. Like, I have new things to say for Metal Gear Solid. One is, it is bonkers in a way that like games were not often during that era of the PlayStation 1, like PS2 even era. Like, the Psycho Mantis fight is iconic for a reason.
Yes. Oh my god.
Like, Gray Fox is an awesome looking antagonist for a reason.
Yeah.
And this is a game series that comes up with ridiculous names like Revolver Ocelot, which who would name their child that?
That is the put the controller in port 2 and he decrypts your memory
That's Psycho
card
Mantis.
fight, right?
Yeah, that's Psycho Mantis. That's the Psycho Mantis fight.
Yeah.
I see that you've been playing lots of Blades of Steel.
Yeah.
You were playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories. What is wrong with you?
Yeah. And so like, there's a lot of like weird stuff with that I think was like thematically and narratively groundbreaking for the era. And actually, I wouldn't even say groundbreaking. I would say ground re-breaking.
Right.
Because if you look like early video games, they are full of weirdness, right? Yeah. Actually, before the ESRB, right? The ESRB emerges, and all of a sudden games get very bland. Like, they can be really good, but they're not doing like weird stuff. Right. And then Metal Gear Solid kind of cracks it open and opens up the world for weird stuff that then now down the line is how you get weird stuff like, frankly, Elden Ring, right? Like some of the weirdness of like FromSoft, I don't think you get without that door being opened by Metal Gear Solid to like a bigger mass media market. And also it's our favorite Konami games. And to be frank, like Metal Gear Solid's weird, complicated, problematic presentation of so many characters is like way more iconic and interesting to me than the vast majority of games, including some of the ones on my list. Like Vandal Hearts 2 was like an okay tactics game, but like it wasn't doing the kind of narrative stuff that MGS was.
Right.
All right. Cicero, you're going to win with the clean sweep today.
Uh-oh. Let's do it.
I'm behind it.
All right. This
All right. So
is the kind of thing I can get behind.
our leaderboard goes as follows for the our favorite Konami games of all time. Double Dribble, if Cicero wants to quote that one.
Double Dribble.
Also, are we just clarifying, these are not in order of these 5, because no offense to Double Dribble, I think we can safely say Silent Hill, Castlevania, and MGS would kick above Blades of Steel and Double Dribble here.
Correct.
Oh, yeah. I'll just, for us alone. Okay, so Silent Hill 2, Double Dribble, Blades of Steel, Castlevania, and MGS, Metal Gear Solid. Those are our top 5 Konami games of all time, favorite-wise. And that was our show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Brian, it's always good having you on. Crazy ideas for sure. And Cicero, you came out on top. You scared the audience there for a bit.
Hey, we got to build a drama.
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
Unlike your UFC fighter, you came back in round 2.
That's correct. That is correct.
All right.
Now the question is, I think we need to determine, Cicero, are you the heel or are you the baby face in this? Like, we need to figure out kind of...
I'm the heel, man. 100% I'm the heel. You got to come and take me down all the time. That's
the problem. We got 2 heel energy people here. We need a nice baby face in here.
Yeah.
One of these times.
That's Mike.
See, I never got to go against Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Mike's a baby face on the camera. He's
all right,
the
shout out, Mike.
heel off the camera.
Listen, babyface, just to clarify, Mike, because I don't know if you're as much of a wrestling person. We haven't talked wrestling in a minute. Babyface is not a bad thing. It's like a particular like archetypical term for like the hero character who's like has standards and morals.
Right.
While the heel is the one who will stab you in the back repeatedly.
Yes.
Yeah. With
100%.
With definitely a lance or a skateboard.
Yeah. I mean, listen.
Yes.
I'm a Scorpio. It's in my nature. What can I say?
Regardless, this was our show, Test Your Might, episode 74. If you guys enjoyed it, feel free to, if you didn't hit that like earlier, go ahead and hit it now. Subscribe. Let us know how we're doing in the comments. As for me, the Duck, and the Mafia Lord Cicero, and Brian, we are out.
Peace.
Bye.